Right. Have you ever told a woman, "You look beautiful tonight," only to watch her smile politely and then look away? You meant it, every word, but something in her eyes told you she didn't feel it. That smile, it wasn't joy, it was familiar, like she's heard it 1,000 times before, and maybe she has. That moment stayed with me. I remember standing in the kitchen one night, watching my wife prepare tea. I said, "You look amazing, you know that?" She smiled, "Thanks," then went back to stirring the cup. I felt invisible, like my words just evaporated into the steam. That's when it hit me. The problem wasn't the compliment, it was how I said it, and what I was really seeing when I looked at her. See, most men compliment based on what they notice, but women, especially the ones who've lived, loved, endured, they want to be seen for more than just the surface. It's not about calling her beautiful, it's about noticing where her beauty lives. Because the right compliment, it doesn't just reach her ears, it reaches her soul. And if you say it right, she'll never forget it, not because you flattered her, but because, in that one moment, she felt truly understood. Today, I'm going to share with you 3 compliments that go deeper than words, that touch the quiet parts of her she hides from the world, that, when spoken with honesty, can make her heart remember you for years to come. Let's begin. Part 1. I've never met a mind like yours. It was a quiet dinner, just the two of us, the kind where the wine flows slow and the conversation flows even slower. She leaned in and told me something about her sister. Not the facts. I already knew those, but the way she saw the whole situation, her take was so layered, so thoughtful. She said, "Sometimes people don't want advice. They just want space to feel what they feel." That stopped me cold. It wasn't just wise, it was different, and all I could say was, "I've never met a mind like yours." She looked at me, surprised, almost shy, because no one had ever said that to her before. Not her ex, not even her parents. See, here's what most men don't realize. When you tell a woman she's beautiful, you're complimenting something the world already sees. But when you tell her she's brilliant in her own way, you're acknowledging something most people overlook. You're stepping into her inner world. Don't say, "You're so smart." That sounds generic, dismissive, like a pat on the back. Instead, say something that reflects how she sees life. Try. You don't just think. You notice things in a way most people never do, or the way your mind works. It makes me stop and reconsider how I see the world. These words matter because they speak to a part of her that's often buried under decades of being judged by how she looks or how well she plays someone else's role. Especially for women over 50 who've raised families, held careers, battled through loss and expectations. Their intellect has depth. It's not just about being clever, it's about wisdom. Complimenting that's rare, and that rarity makes you unforgettable. When a woman hears, "You make me think differently," I admire that in you. It's like handing her a mirror that reflects back the part of herself she didn't think anyone else noticed. And here's the truth. You can't fake this kind of compliment. You have to see her, really see her. The way she puts 2 ideas together. How? She remembers the details no one else does, the quiet logic behind her choices. If you notice that and you put it into words, you won't just be the man who listens. You'll be the man who gets her. And that's the man she never forgets. Part 2. You stayed when life tried to break you. I once asked a woman, "What was the hardest thing you've ever done?" She paused, looked down, and said softly, "Taking care of my husband for 2 years. After the stroke, he couldn't speak, couldn't move, but I stayed. I fed him, bathed him, dressed him, and every day I prayed that he'd remember my name." She didn't say it for sympathy. She wasn't bragging. There was no bitterness in her voice, just quiet strength. That's when I realized most women don't talk about the hardest parts of their lives until they know you're safe enough. to hear them. And when they do, that's your chance to say something she'll carry forever. Not, wow, that must have been hard. Not, you're strong. But something deeper. Something like, you didn't just survive. You held it all together, and that's something I deeply admire. Because here's the thing most men miss. Women don't want pity. They want witnessing. They want to be seen, not for the pain they endured, but for how they stayed whole when life tried to break them in half. She may never tell you about the night she cried quietly in the shower, or the time she held her breath while her child screamed in the ER, or how she smiled through a funeral and made coffee for everyone afterward. But if she does, and you truly listen, you'll see something. Sacred resilience, not loud, not shiny, not heroic, but real, bone deep. It's the kind of strength that doesn't post on social media, the kind that holds a family together while the world around them crumbles. And if you're the first man to look her in the eyes and say, I see what you carried and the way you kept going, that humbles me. She won't forget it. Because in that moment, she won't just feel admired, she'll feel understood. And let me tell you, that's rare, because most of her life she's probably been praised for being sweet, pretty, nice, maybe even strong, but never for being the woman who kept showing up when it would have been easier to walk away. So the next time she tells you a story that shakes you, about loss, about holding the pieces together, don't change the subject. Don't gloss over. Don't try to fix it. Look her in the eyes and say, you stayed when life tried to break you, and that is unforgettable. You'd be surprised how many women over 50 have carried entire seasons of suffering alone, and how few people ever said, I see what that cost you, and I honor it. Say that. Say it with your eyes. Say it with your voice. Say it when it matters most, because that kind of compliment, it doesn't sound like flattery, it sounds like truth. And truth, my friend, goes straight to the heart. Part 3. You make people feel safe without saying a word. We were at a backyard gathering, one of those low-key weekend things, lawn chairs, paper plates, quiet jazz playing through an old Bluetooth speaker. The sun was going down. The air smelled like grilled corn and summer dust, and there she was, not the loudest in the group, not telling stories or making a scene, just sitting there, listening, laughing at the right moments, keeping her hand gently on her friend's shoulder during a sad story. It wasn't what she did, it was what she didn't need to do. She made the whole space feel softer, more relaxed, like everyone could breathe. A little easier just because she was there, and that's when it hit me. There are women, not many, who carry a kind of invisible gravity. They don't draw attention to themselves, but they hold the room together. Later that night, when it was just the two of us, I turned to her and said, there's something about you. When you're around, people feel safe. You don't even have to say anything, it just happens. She went quiet, looked down for a second, and then whispered, no one's ever told me that before. Because here's the thing, most women aren't aware of the invisible impact they have. They know how to be there for others, to calm tension, to sense what someone needs before it's spoken, but rarely does anyone reflect that back to them. This compliment isn't about beauty, it's not about her mind, it's about her presence, her energy. And for women over 50, who've spent decades caring for others, regulating emotions, softening hard moments in silence, this is the kind of recognition they never expect, but secretly long for. You're not just saying you're calming, you're saying who you are. Just being you makes people feel whole again. That's a kind of emotional intimacy most men overlook, and yet it's the compliment that touches her subconscious, the part of her that's always reading the room, always adjusting herself so others feel okay, always wondering if anyone notices how much she gives without saying a word. So when you say, when you're around, I feel more like myself. There's something about your energy that just makes things feel safe. You're not flattering her, you're freeing her. You're telling her, I see what you bring into the room, not just what you say or do, but what you are, and I value it deeply. Think about that. Every woman has been told she's kind, or sweet, or a good listener, but very few have been told your presence changes the room. You make people feel safe without trying. Just you being you is healing. That's not a compliment. That's a recognition, a witnessing, and it lands deeper than you can imagine, because a woman like that, she may have never heard those words. She may have gone years feeling like the glue that holds everyone together, but never got thanked for it until now. So if you see her in your life at your table or in your memories, and she made things feel a little easier, a little warmer, a little more whole, tell her, whisper it if you have to, but make sure she knows you make people feel safe and without saying a word, and that's something I will never forget. Conclusion: a wise man says less, but sees more. Here's what I've learned after years of saying the wrong things, and even more years learning how to say the right ones. A good compliment isn't loud. It doesn't try to impress. It doesn't aim for applause. A good compliment is quiet, specific, intentional. It doesn't say, you're beautiful. It says, I see the way your mind works, how you carried that pain, how you soften a room just by walking into it. Because when a woman is truly seen, not just for how she looks, but for who she is and how she moves through the world, something powerful happens. She feels safe. She feels chosen. She feels remembered. Most men speak to what they see, but the men she remembers, they speak to what they sense, to what she thought no one else noticed. That's the secret. It's not about being poetic. It's about being present. It's not about saying more. It's about noticing more. Because the truth is, every woman has been complimented on her appearance, but almost no woman has been told the way you hold things together, the way your silence calms the room, the way your perspective opens my mind. Those are the words that stay, not because they flatter her, but because they understand her. So the next time you want to make a woman feel beautiful, don't talk about her dress. Talk about her courage, her clarity, her invisible strength. Because at the end of the day, it's not your charm she'll remember. It's the moment you made her feel seen, and a woman who feels seen will never forget the man who saw her. Say it before it's too late. If you've ever loved a woman and felt like maybe you never really told her what mattered most, this is your second chance, because maybe you've said, you're beautiful, I appreciate you, or thanks for everything. But maybe what she really needed to hear was, I see the way. You think, I admire how you stayed strong. You make the world feel safer just by being in it. If this video made you think of someone, don't wait. Send it to her. Or if she's no longer around, say it out loud anyway. Let the words rise, even if only into silence. And if life ever brings another woman into your path, remember, you don't need grand speeches or perfect lines. You just need to notice and then say what you see with heart, because as men, we don't need to say a lot. We just need to say what matters, and when we do, she'll never forget it.